The book of Jubilees, chapters 11 and 12. And in the 35th Jubilee, in the third week, in the first year, 1681, Anno Monday, A.M., thereof, Ru took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of the son of Chesed. And she bare him a son, and called his name Sero. In the 7th year of this week, in this Jubilee, 1687, A.M. And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive, and to slay each other, and to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities, and walls, and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nations, and to found the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war, people against people, and nations against nations, and city against city, and all began to do evil, and to acquire arms, and to teach their sons war, and they began to capture cities, and to sell male and female slaves. And the son of Chesed built the city of Ara of the Chaldees, and called its name after his own name and the name of his father. And they made for themselves molten images, and they worshipped each the idol, the molten image, which they had made for themselves. And they began to make graven images, and unclean simulacra, and malignant spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgression and uncleanness. And the prince Mastema, who is Satan, exerted himself to do all this, and he sent forth other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin, and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Sero Surag, for every one turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. And he grew up and dwelt in of the Chaldees, near to the father of his wife's mother. And he worshipped idols, and he took to himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the first year thereof, 1744 A.M. And her name was Melka, the daughter of Kabar, the daughter of his father's brother. And she bare him Nahor in the first year of this week, and he grew up and dwelt in of the Chaldees. And his father taught him the researchers of the Chaldees to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. And in the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year thereof, 1800 A.M. Ao Monday, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ajaska, the daughter of Nestag of the Chaldees. And she bare him Terah in the 7th year of this week, 1807 A.M. And the prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their laborers. Before they could plow in the seed, the ravens picked it from the surface of the ground, and for this reason he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren on to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees. From the trees it was only with great effort that they could save a life of all the fruit of earth in their days. And in the 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the first year, 1870 A.M., on Monday, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week, 1876 A.M., she bare him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of the father of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness, and his father taught him writings, and he was 2 weeks of years old, 1890 A.M., and he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator, El Elohi Ahai, of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into error after uncleanness and vileness. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land, and they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went forth with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed, and Abram ran to meet them before they settle on the ground, and cried to them before they settle on the ground to devour the seed, and said, the sin not, return to the place whence she came. And they proceeded to turn back. And he caused a cloud of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And all the ravens throughout all the land where Abram was there settled there not so much as one. And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out, and all the ravens turned back. And his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of the sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home, and ate and were satisfied. And in the first year of the 5th week, 1891 a.m., and on Monday, Abram taught those who made implements for oxen, the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground facing the frame of the plow in order to put the seed thereon. And the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow, and was hidden in the earth, and they no longer feared the ravens. And after this manner they made vessels above the ground on all the frames of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land, according as Abram commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. The book of Jubilees, chapter 12. Abram destroys the idols his father Terah kept and worshipped. Precept to that, Leviticus 26, verse 1. Ye shall make you no idols, nor graven images, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall you set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am Ahiah, your El Elohi, your mighty God. The book of Jubilees, chapter 12, verses 1 through 13. And it came to pass in the 6th week, in the 7th year thereof, 1904 a.m., that Abram said to Terah his father, saying, Father. And he said, Behold, here am I, my son. And he said, What help and profit have we found from those idols which thou dost worship, and before which thou dost bow thyself? For there is no spirit in them, for they are dumb forms and a misleading of the heart. Worship them not. Worship the El Elohi, the mighty God Ahiah of heaven, who causes the rain and the dew to descend on the earth, and does everything upon the earth, and has created everything by his word, and all life is from before his face. Why do you worship things that have no spirit in them? For they are the work of men's hands, and on your shoulders do you bear them, and you have no help from them. But they are a great cause of shame to those who make them, and a misleading of the heart to those that worship them. Worship them not. And his father said unto him, I also know it, my son, but what shall I do with a people who have made me to serve before them? And if I tell them the truth, they will slay me, for their soul cleaves to them, to worship them and honor them. Keep silent, my son, lest they slay thee. And these words he spake to his 2 brothers, and they were angry with him, and he kept silent. And in the 40th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 7th year thereof, 1925 a.m., Abram took to himself a wife, and her name was Sarai, the daughter of his father, and she became his wife. And Haran his brother took to himself a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, 1928 a.m., and she bare him a son in the 7th year of the week, 1932 a.m., and he called his name Lot. And Nahor his brother took to himself a wife in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, 1928 a.m., and she bare him a son in the 7th year of this week, 1932 a.m., and he called his name Lot. And Nahor his brother took to himself a wife in the 60th the 60th year of the life of Abram, that is in the 4th week, in the 4th year thereof, 1936 a.m. Abram arose by night and burned the house of the idols, and he burned all that was in the house, and no man knew it. And they arose in the night and sought to save their gods from the midst of the fire. And Haran hasted to save them, but the fire flamed over him, and he was burned in the fire, and he died in Ur of the Chaldees before Terah his father. And they buried him in Ur of the Chaldees. The precept to that and witness in the book of Asher, chapter 11. Chapter 11, verses 6 to 60 of the book of Asher. And Nimrod dwelt in Babel, and he there renewed his region over the rest of his subjects, and he reigned securely, and the subjects and princes of Nimrod called his name Amraphel, saying that at the tower his princes and men fell through his means. And notwithstanding this, Nimrod did not return to Ahiah Elohi, and he continued in wickedness and teaching wickedness to the sons of men. And Mardon his son was worse than his father, and continued to add to the abominations of his father. And he caused the sons of men to sin, therefore it is said, from the wicked go forth wickedness. At that time there was a war between the families of the children of Ham, and as they were dwelling in the cities which they had built, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, went away from the families of the children of Ham, and he fought with them, and he subdued them, and he went to the 5 cities of the plain, and he fought against them, and he subdued them, and they were under his control. And they served him 12 years, and they gave him a yearly tax. And that time died Nahor, son of Serug, in the 49th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah. And in the 5th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, Abram came forth from the house of Noah, and went to his father's house. And Abram knew El-Elohi Ahiah, and he went in his ways and instructions. And Ahiah his El-Elohi, his mighty God, was with him. And Terah his father was in those days still captain of the host of King Nimrod, and he still followed strange gods. And Abram came to his father's house, and saw 12 gods standing there in their temples. And the anger of Abram was kindled when he saw these images of his father's house. And Abram said, As El-Elohi Ahiah liveth, these images shall not remain in my father's house. So shall Ahiah, who created me, do unto me, if in 3 days' time I do not break them all. And Abram went from them, and his anger burned within him. And Abram hastened and went from the chamber to his father's outer court. And he found his father sitting in the court, and all his servants with him. And Abram came and sat before him. And Abram asked his father, saying, Father, tell me, where is El-Elohi Ahiah, who created heaven and earth, and all the sons of men upon earth, and who created thee and me? And Terah answered his son Abram, and said, Behold, those who created us are all with us in the house. And Abram said to his father, My lord, show them to me, I pray thee. And Terah brought Abram into the chamber of the inner court. And Abram saw, and behold, the whole room was full of gods of wood and stone, 12 great images, and others less than they, without number. And Terah said to his son, Behold, these are they which made all thou seest upon earth, and which created me and thee and all mankind. And Terah bowed down to his gods, and he then went away from them, and Abram his son went away with him. And when Abram had gone from them, he went to his mother, and sat before her, and said to his mother, Behold, my father has shown me those who made heaven and earth, and all the sons of men. Now therefore hasten and fetch a kid from the flocks, and make of it savory meat, that I may bring it to my father's gods as an offering for them to eat. Perhaps I may thereby become acceptable to them. And his mother did so, and she fetched a kid, and made savory meat thereof, and brought it to Abram. And Abram took the savory meat from his mother, and brought it before his father's gods, and he drew nigh to them that they might eat. And Terah his father did not know of it. And Abram saw of the day when he was sitting amongst them the idols, that they had no voice, no hearing, no motion, and not one of them could stretch forth his hands to eat. And Abram mocked them, and said, Surely the savory meat that I prepared has not pleased them, or perhaps it was too little for them, and for that reason they would not eat. Therefore tomorrow I will prepare fresh savory meat, better and more plentiful than this, in order that I may see the result. And it was on the next day that Abram directed his mother concerning the savory meat. And his mother rose and fetched 3 fine kids from the flock, and she made of them some excellent savory meat, such as her son was fond of, and she gave it to her son Abram. And Terah his father did not know of it. And Abram took the savory meat from his mother, and brought it before his father's gods into the chamber. And he came nigh unto them that they might eat, and he placed it before them. And Abram sat before them all day, thinking perhaps they might eat. And Abram viewed them, and behold, they had neither voice nor hearing, nor did one of them stretch forth his hand to the meat to eat. And in the evening of that day, in that house, Abram was clothed with the spirit of El Elohi, and he called out and said, Woe unto my father and the wicked generation, whose hearts are all inclined to vanity, who serve the idols of wood and stone, which can neither eat, smell, hear, nor speak, who have mouths without speech, eyes without sight, ears without hearing, hands without feeling, and legs without that cannot move, like them or those that made them and that trust in them. And when Abram saw all these things, his anger was kindled against his father, and he hastened and took a hatchet in his hand, and came into the chamber of the gods, and he broke all his father's gods. And when he had done breaking the images, he placed the hatchet in the hand of the great God which was there before them, and he went out. And Terah his father came home, for he had heard at the door the sound of the striking of the hatchet. So Terah came into the house to know what this was about. And Terah, having heard the noise of the hatchet in the room of the images, ran to the room to the images, and he met Abram going out. And Terah entered the room and found all the idols fallen down and broken, and the hatchet in the hand of the largest which was not broken. And the savory meat which Abram his son had made was still before them. And when Terah saw this, his anger was greatly kindled, and he hastened and went from the room to Abram. And he found Abram his son still sitting in the house, and he said to him, What is this work thou hast done to my gods? And Abram answered Terah his father, and said, Not so, my lord, for I brought savory meat before them, and when I came nigh to them with the meat that they might eat, they all at once stretched forth their hands to eat before the great one had put forth his hands to eat. And the large one saw their works that they did before him, and his anger was violently kindled against them. And he went and took the hatchet and that was in the house, and came to them and broke them all. And behold, the hatchet is yet in his hand, as thou seest. And Terah's anger was kindled against his son Abram when he spoke this. And Terah said to Abram his son in his anger, What is this tale that thou hast told? Thou speakest lies to me. Is there in these gods spirit, soul, or power to do all that thou hast told me? Or are they not wood and stone, and have I not myself made them? And canst thou speak such lies, saying that the Lord God that was with them smote them? It is thou that didst place the hatchet in his hand, and then says he smote them all. And Abram answered his father and said to him, And how canst thou then serve these idols, in whom there is no power to do anything? Can those idols in which thou trusted deliver thee? Can they hear thy prayers when thou callest upon them? Can they deliver thee from the hands of thy enemies? Or will they fight thy battles for thee against the enemies, that thou shouldest serve wood and stone, which can neither speak nor hear? And now surely it is not good for thee, nor for the sons of men that are connected with thee, to do these things. Are you so silly, so foolish, or so short of understanding, that you will serve wood and stone, and do after this manner? And forget El Elohi, your mighty God, who made heaven and earth, and who created you in the earth, and thereby bring a great evil upon your souls in this manner by serving stone and wood? Did not our fathers in days of old sin in this matter? And Ahiah, our El Elohi, our mighty God of the universe, brought the waters of the flood upon them, and destroyed the whole earth? And how can you continue to do this, and serve gods of wood and stone, who cannot hear or speak or deliver you from oppression, thereby bringing down the anger of El Elohi of the universe upon you? Now therefore, my father, refrain from this, and bring not evil upon the soul and the souls of thy household. And Abram hastened and sprang from before his father, and took the hatchet from his father's largest idol, with which Abram broke it, and ran away. And Terah, seeing all that Abram had done, hastened to go from his house. And he went to the king, and he came before Nimrod, and stood before him, and he bowed down to the king. And the king said, What thou want? Now the father will go against the son, delivering him over to Satan. And Terah said, I beseech thee, my lord, talking to King Nimrod, to hear me. Now 50 years back a child was born to me, and thus has he done to my gods, and thus has he spoken. And now therefore, my lord and king, send for him, that he may come before thee, and judge him according to the law, that we may be delivered from this evil. And the king sent 3 men of his servants, and they went and brought Abram before the king. And Nimrod and all his princes and servants were that day sitting before him, and Terah sat also before them. And the king said to Abram, What is this that thou hast done to thy father and to his gods? And Abram answered the king in the words that he spoke to his father, and he said, The Lord God that was with them in the house did to them what thou hast heard. And the king said to Abram, Had thy power to speak and eat and do as thou hast said? And Abram answered the king, saying, And if there be no power in them, why dost thou serve them and cause the sons of men to err through thy follies? Thou imagine that they can deliver thee, or do anything small or great, that thou shouldest serve them. And why wilt thou not sense that El Elohi Ahia of the whole universe, who created thee, and in whose power it is to kill and keep alive? O foolish, simple, and ignorant king, woe unto thee forever. And I thought thou wouldest teach thy servants the upright way, but thou hast not done this, but hast filled the whole earth with thy sins and the sins of thy people who have followed thy ways. Thou dost not know, or have thou not heard, that this evil which thou doest, our ancestors sinned therein in the days of old, and the eternal El Elohi, mighty God Ahia, brought the waters of the flood upon them, and destroyed them all, and also destroyed the whole earth on their account? And wilt thou and thy people rise up now, and do like unto this work, in order to bring down the anger of El Elohi Ahia of the universe, and to bring evil upon thee and the whole earth? Now therefore put away this evil deed which thou doest, and serve the El Elohi, the mighty God Ahia of the universe, as thy soul is in his hands, and then it will be well with thee. And if thy wicked heart will not hearken to my words, to cause thee to forsake thy evil ways, and to serve the eternal El Elohi, mighty God, then wilt thou die in shame in the latter days, and thou, thy people, and all who are connected with thee, hearing thy words, or walking in thy evil ways. And when Abram had ceased speaking before the king and princes, Abram lifted up his eyes to the heavens and said, El Elohi Ahia seeth all the wicked, and he will judge them. Continuing to the book of Jubilees, chapter 12, verses 14 through 31. And Terah went forth from Ur of the Chaldees, he and his sons, to going into the land of Lebanon, and into the land of Canaan, and he dwelt in the land of Haran. And Abram dwelt with Terah his father in Haran 2 weeks of years. And in the 6th week, in the 5th year thereof, 1951 a.m., ain't no Monday, Abram sat up throughout the night on the new moon on the 7th month to observe the stars from the evening to the morning, in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. And a word came into the heart, and he said, All the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and of the sun are all in the hand of El Elohi Ahia. Why do I search them out? If he desires, he causes it to rain morning and evening, and if he desires, he withhold it, and all things are in his hands. And he prayed that night and said, My God, God most high Yah, thou alone, or my El Elohi, my mighty God, and thee and thy dominion have I chosen, and thou hast created all things, and all things that are the work of thy hands. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits, who have dominion over the thoughts of men's hearts. And let them not lead me astray from thee, my El Elohi, my mighty God, and establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray from henceforth and forevermore. And he said, Shall I return unto Ur of the Chaldees, who seek my face, that I may return to them? Am I to remain here in this place? The right path before thee prospered in the hand of thy servant, that he may fulfill it, and that I may not walk in the deceitfulness of my heart, O my El Elohi, mighty God Ahia. And he made an end of speaking and praying, and behold, the word of Ahia, El Elohi, was sent to him through me, saying, Get thee up from thy country, and from thy kindred, and from the house of thy father, into a land which I will show thee, and I shall make thee a great and numerous nation. And I will bless thee, and I will make thy name great, and thou shalt be blessed in the earth, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And I will be a El Elohi, a mighty God to thee, and thy son, and to thy son's son, and to all thy seed. Fear not from henceforth and unto all generations of the earth. I am Ahiah, thy El Elohi, thy mighty God. And Ahiah El Elohi said, Open his mouth and his ears, that he may hear and speak with his mouth, with the language which has been revealed, for it has ceased from the mouths of all the children of men from the day of the overthrow of Babel. And I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, in the tongue of the creation. Hallelujah. And he took the books of his fathers, and these were written in the Hebrew, and he transcribed them, and he began from henceforth to study them. And I made known to him that which he could not understand, and he studied them during the 6 rainy months. And it came to pass in the 7th year of the 6th week, 1953 A.M., that he spoke to his father and informed him that he would leave Haran to go into the land of Canaan to see it and return to him. And Terah his father said unto him, Go in peace. May the eternal El Elohi, mighty God Ahiah, make thy path straight. And Ahiah be with thee, and protect thee from all evil, and grant unto thee grace, mercy, and favor before those who see thee. And may none of the children of men have power over thee to harm thee. Go in peace. And if thou seest the land pleasant to thy eyes to dwell in, then arise and take me to thee, and take Lot with thee, the son of Haran, thy brother, as thine own son. El Elohi Ahiah be with thee, and Nahor thy brother leave with me till thou returnest in peace, and we go with thee all together. And that's the end of chapter 12. Thank you for listening.